So when you set a goal to connect with your child, instead of controlling them with punitive consequences, it brings up all the stuff inside of you that needs healing, that needs love, that needs attention. Your impatience, your triggers, your old way of thinking. That's why it feels so hard. It's not because you're failing, it's because you're growing. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. How are you? It's so good to be back here talking with you. I'm in one of the back bedrooms in the Airbnb we're staying at, and I am in deep reflection today because we're down to a month before we head back to the States. We stayed the last few days in a place called Wanaka, and the whole time we were there, we kept saying, sounds like Hanukkah. I don't know why. We could not get that out of our head. It was the cutest place. It was such a just lovely town. I loved it. We went on the best walks by the lake, and yeah, I loved it so much. We saw thousands of bunnies. The New Zealand people are so kind. I also have to just mention that out if any New Zealanders are listening to this. You guys are so kind. I love the way you interact, the way you treat people. I'm just thoroughly impressed. And today we're in Tianu. I hope I'm saying that right, because tomorrow, actually it's going to be a couple days now because of the weather, but a few days from now we are heading to Fjordland. I cannot wait. A few years ago, my husband and I went to Norway. He surprised me as we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary and flew us to Norway. I was in shock and also had no clothing that was suitable for the cold weather because he packed me. So we bought clothes there. Anyway, it's another story for another day. But we saw the fjords there and I'd never seen anything like it. And when we found out that New Zealand had fjords, we, of course, had to make our way to the southern part of the island, the South Island, and the southern part of the South Island to experience the fjords. So tomorrow, or actually now, it's a couple days from now, we're going to take a boat ride, which I guess is the only way you can really see them, out to see the fjords, and I cannot wait. And as I'm sitting here in this bedroom and thinking about this journey I've been on with parenting for the last 25 years. 25 years. I feel like I'm 25. Obviously, I'm not 25. My oldest will be 26 this year. Blows my mind what is happening. How did this happen? And my youngest will turn 17. And she just came in. It's not fair that she did this right before I was recording this podcast. She just came in and she's been scrapbooking the whole time we've been traveling, which has been the most epic experience of my life. I'm so glad that we got to do this with our family. It makes zero financial sense. We did not do this because of not having care about, finances. We made this decision because we wanted to do this, and we've been working along the way, and it's been, all the things. Anyway, so she comes in and she shows me, goodness, I did not mean to lose my emotions today. But anyway, so she comes in and she shows me the scrapbook. She just finished the portion from all of our travels in Europe, which I just feel so blessed. I mean, who gets to do that with their kids? I just want to say that this is the power of intention. I'm working with the amazing parents, mostly moms. So I'll probably just say moms, but I know there's some dads in there, and I love you too, dads. But I've been working with these amazing moms in League, which is the umbrella group. So I have Pivot, that's the first 8 weeks that you have to do once you join League, and then you transition into Mastery. So we're all mixed up right now, and in these calls that I'm doing, I'm offering to everybody, and we're talking about our best year yet. I know my amazing editor is going to do a beautiful job, so you can't tell I just left, but I literally just walked out of the room where I'm recording to get tissue because I'm so emotional, and I needed to get some tissue. So inside of League, we're creating our intentions for 2025, and every week for the month of January, we're setting our intentions, we're creating visions, we're laying out the plan that we're going to follow the entire year. Everyone's going to blow their minds. I know it. Absolutely know it. And the way I know it is because of my experience with so many other moms in the past, but also because of this trip I'm on right now, which, whatever your opinion is about it, we all have our things we want to do in our life. And this was one of them. For whatever reason, I got this crazy idea a long time ago, maybe a decade ago or more, that I wanted to travel full time for multiple months with my family. And it's happened. I can't believe it. And thanks for being kind of on this journey with me. I've shared all the ups and downs, or a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of ups and downs along the way. And as my daughter came in and opened up this scrapbook that she just finished from all of our traveling through Europe, which is the coolest, sweetest, most beautiful thing. And we were looking back on the pictures. She got this idea when she loves to scrapbook the old school way with real pictures. And she said, I'm going to do it as we're traveling, Mom. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't think she would really do it, in good intentions, but I was not convinced. Anyway, so she comes in 10 minutes ago and she shows me, because she found the scrapbook. She wanted to buy the scrapbook on the trip. So she found the scrapbook in, I think, a store that when we were in this Barcelona airport, so random. And it's just the cutest little scrapbook. And she found they had 3 volumes, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. And she's like, I'm going to get them all. And I'm going to make the scrapbook in a scrapbook that I found in Europe. I'm going to print the pictures in Europe. And she did it. Now, okay, I'm rambling, so forgive me for taking you on this little side note before we get into the main content, but I want to just say, because it's just on my heart, this is just what's present for me right now, is that your intentions matter, and you can create whatever you want with your family. The impossible is figure outable if you put your mind to it. It really, really is. And it might not be exactly the outcome you want. This trip is not exactly how I thought it would be, but it's pretty dang close. It's pretty close to what I thought. And for every one of us, I know if we have the right support, if we put intentions in place and we know how to construct them and how to map them out and how to execute on them, our greatest desires can come true. The relationship you want to have with your child can happen. The patience you so desperately want can be developed, can be discovered within you. The routines that you want to create, the ability to prepare the food or the home that you want, to create that, it's possible. So, not exactly how I thought I was going to start the podcast, but because I just happened, I'm emotional and I've got to get this podcast done. So I thought I'm just going to start recording. I'm just going to come out the way it comes out. And that's how it's coming out today, you all. So we're wrapping up, we're winding down our trip here. And oh my gosh, it's been the biggest adventure of my life. Biggest adventure of my life. And side note, which has nothing to do with what I was just saying, not sentimental at all. I just have to say, so we're in Tianu and we found the best Mexican food yesterday. I know this sounds so trivial, but having been born and raised in Arizona, where we get incredible Mexican food, to be able to find fantastic Mexican food after not having it for 6 months in Tianu, New Zealand, was a treat. And it's, even just talking about it right now, I'm so energized by this possibility. I mean, talk about possibilities. I mean, who would have thought that was possible? Good Mexican food and the fjords, all within an hour of each other. Okay, so as we are winding down January, wrapping it up, or you could also say as we're kicking off to 2025, I want you to know that your intentions matter, and what you put your mind to will happen if you know how to create and execute a plan. And if you're wanting help doing that, come join us next time Pivot opens, and then transition into mastery so you can get all of the support you want. And I didn't plan to say that, but I just have to say that is where this magic can happen. All right, so should we talk about what we're going to talk about today? The planned topic. Shall we get to that? We're going to talk about ease versus evolving. Now, I've been talking about this topic a lot lately with the parents I'm working with inside of League, with some of my one-on-one clients. I've been thinking about it a lot as we've been traveling these last few months. And I want to speak to this common misconception out there that parenting should feel natural, easy, or even effortless if you're doing it the quote unquote right way. And I just want to gently challenge that idea because it's not really how growth works, especially when it comes to parenting. Man, it's part of the reason I was so emotional as I was looking through the book my daughter brought in. It was just, there was so much evolving and growing and hard and good. The 50-50 I talk about all the time on here, it has been present this whole trip. And the ease and then the moving to evolving is on the top of my mind. And I just want to gently challenge this idea because it's not really how growth works. It's ease and comfort. Now, I love it and I want some, just like the rest of us, but we can't always live there. And I think there was part of me when we embarked on this 6-month adventure, I thought it's going to be so easy. And it has been in so many ways. And it's been so hard in so many ways. I actually want both. I want to be a human. I want my kids to be human. So when we misunderstand the importance of ease and the importance of the challenges that bring out growth or evolving, then we can't fully enjoy the whole process. So how many of us have had this thought before? If I were a good parent, I'd know how to handle tantrums or the homework battles or the bedtime struggles. It wouldn't feel so hard. But the truth is, when you step into parenting, especially if you're trying to approach it in a more connective, attachment-based way, which is what we're all about here, you're stepping into a journey of evolving. We are challenging so many parts of your life, your beliefs, all of it, to step into a new way of being, a new way of showing up in the world, a new way of interpreting your children's behavior, a new way of interacting with your nervous system. And here's what I believe. Anytime we feel that deep desire to be a better parent, to connect more with our kids, to raise them in a way that feels aligned with our values, to be patient when they're throwing the fit, to help our child through something that's really not working for them, that desire to challenge the status quo, that desire to not show up the way that we used to or the way we've seen other people show up, to change the narrative, to change the cycle, to break the cycle. That's an invitation to grow, to become better. And growth, it's supposed to feel a little or a lot uncomfortable because our default way is being challenged and our nervous system feels safe doing things the way it has been doing things. It wants to keep it the same. But we don't want to keep it the same. We want to do something bigger, something better, something more connective, something more loving. And so we have this dissonance, this discomfort. And when I feel that discomfort, as soon as I become consciously aware of it, I lean into it and I think, ooh, something great is about to happen. A place I'm underdeveloped is about to get more developed. A weakness is about to get exposed. A capacity is about to get increased. So let's say you've decided you're going to stop yelling. That is a great goal. But here's what happens. You're going to be tested 100% of the time. The kids are going to spill the cereal all over the floor again. Someone's going to hit their sibling for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. Or your teen is going to roll their eyes at you and act as if they can't stand you at all. And in those moments, it's going to feel so much easier, so much more comfortable, natural to lose your cool because that's the default you've relied on for years. But choosing not to yell, well, that's going to require some courage. It's going to require patience. It's going to require facing old beliefs like kids should listen the first time, or I'm failing as a parent, or whatever that sentence that shows up in your brain when things aren't working the way that they're supposed to be working in your mind. That shouldn't be happening. My child shouldn't spill everywhere. My child shouldn't roll his eyes at me. You shouldn't talk like that. We have a resistance to what is. And it's when we can interrupt the resistance and notice it that things begin to shift. And honestly, that awareness in and of itself is uncomfortable, but it's the best kind of uncomfortable because on the other side is growth. when you decide to parent differently, you're going to have moments that feel like you're having kind of an identity crisis. You might think to yourself, wait, who am I if I'm not the parent who yells or gets things done by giving consequences? Who am I if I don't punish or bribe the kids? How are they going to listen? And I know that sounds kind of crazy, probably as we're talking about it, because of course you want to be the parent who doesn't yell or doesn't punish. Of course you want to do that. But thinking of living life without those tactics might feel scary, because what are you going to do? I mean, let's be real. What are you going to do if the kids don't listen and you don't yell? What has worked? In the past, a lot of parents identify that way of being as passive. But I'm telling you, losing that corrective behavior modification strategy, skill set, or letting it go, and then stepping into the connective way of being is anything but passive. It's intentional, it's firm, it's compassionate, it's boundary holding. But at first, your brain can't even fathom life without it. Who would you be? What would you say? How would you get your kids to do the things you want them to do? It's most likely going to feel very disorienting at first because you're letting go of part of your identity. And let's be real, that process is not cozy. It's messy. It's full of doubt and frustration. You're probably going to second guess yourself, feel like you're doing it all wrong, and wonder if it's even worth it. But here's the thing. Let me just reassure you, it is so worth it, because who you're going to be on the other side of it is where you want to land. That tension you feel when you're trying to grow is exactly what is supposed to happen. Exactly what is supposed to happen. I remember having this debate with myself. It was close to 15 years ago. I woke up and I was so addicted to being right with my husband, being right with my kids. If they said something, I needed to defend myself. I needed to prove that they were wrong. And it was just non-stop. And I had this intention to have more love in my home. I wanted more love and more peace. Yeah, I was constantly on the defense, constantly causing a lot of contention, a lot of strife, a lot of frustration. I thought I was helping. Yeah, I thought it was helpful to prove that I was right, but I was starting to discover at this point that it wasn't helpful and it wasn't making anything better. So I remember I was laying in bed. I just was waking up, which is when I get a lot of really beautiful insights, little downloads come to me that I've been asking for. And I had this awareness, this thought pop into my head. You can either be right or you can choose love. You can choose to be right. You can choose to love. And I thought, well, I choose love. And of course, that's what I choose. I choose love. And then the thought was, well, you can't have both. I thought, oh, come on. I battled with, myself for a little bit. And the thought just kept coming back. You can either choose to love or you can choose to prove that you're right all the time. And I fought for that rightness, that part of me that wanted to prove I was right. I fought for a little bit for it. I thought, no, I can't let go of that. What would I do? I felt very vulnerable. I didn't feel very secure. I needed that judgment. I needed that resistance, I thought. And I fought it back and forth. And I remember the moment, I hadn't gotten out of bed, but I remember the moment I just said, well, if I have to choose, I choose love. If I can't have both, choose love. And it scares me to death to let go of me being right, but I choose love every time. Like, no questions asked. Like, that is of course what I'm choosing. And I woke up committed to love, more committed to love than I was to being right. And I wasn't perfect. It took a while. There's still times where I feel that I'm in the face of that dilemma, but I had a bit of identity crisis, you could say, as I let go of part of who I thought I needed to be to function in the world. And I invite you to do the same. Like, yes, it's going to feel hard, but if I don't do this, then what? I just keep waking up the same day, Groundhog's Day every day. Here we go again. Here I am on my defense, trying to prove, that I'm right with my kids so that I can, I don't know what. It's so funny. Like, to what end? Well, I guess to the end that I can feel validation that I'm right, but it never worked. It never worked. So the discomfort that I felt, the battle I had inside, you're going to feel a version of that as you decide intentionally to let go of things and to bring on new things. And if you're in league with me, we're working on this all the way right now. I mean, this is the work. It's what are the things that I need to let go of, that I need to let wither away, or as I say, take a back seat in the bus. so that it's not even close to influencing me, and allow myself to become more of who I really am. So when you set a goal to connect with your child, instead of controlling them with punitive consequences, it brings up all the stuff inside of you that needs healing, that needs love, that needs attention, your impatience, your triggers, your old way of thinking. That's why it feels so hard. It's not because you're failing, it's because you're growing. So let's say you're working on staying calm when your child's melting down, which is challenging for so many of us because we weren't allowed to have that experience, so many of us. And so it's not safe to melt down. And so when our child does it, it brings all of that up. Or it could just be you have a low tolerance to noise. My husband has a very low tolerance to noise. He's always putting in earplugs if it's a little too noisy. He's coping with it, but that's hard. It could just be a sensation thing. It could be just a tired thing or a fear thing. So let's say you're trying to stay calm, which is hard for you for whatever reason when your child's melting down. And in the moment, every fiber of your being might want you to yell, might want you to try to fix it immediately, give a consequence. But instead, let's say you decide to notice your emotions, you stay present, you let yourself feel your emotions that you're having without making a mad rush to get rid of those emotions. You notice how your child's feeling, you're breathing. Maybe you excuse yourself if you need a little bit of time away. And that decision might feel so unnatural or even ineffective at first. But that is part of the evolution, is doing something different. What do they say? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's what our bodies often crave, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's uncomfortable. Let's be real. That's pretty uncomfortable. Now, what I'm saying is, what if you embraced the discomfort and knew that that was a way to get you into a new place? Yeah, it's uncomfortable either way. What if I choose the productive discomfort? So let's talk about how this process of evolving works, especially in parenting. The first question to ask yourself is, am I seeking ease or safety or sameness in how I parent or how I am moving through life? And I want you to be honest with yourself. There's nothing wrong with wanting ease. There's nothing wrong with saying, I just want to stay where I am because it feels safe and familiar. Oftentimes, when we own that, we can begin to have the awareness we need to eventually feel safe enough to shift it. But if our choice is to just stay in the sameness, do the same thing, it's our choice, and we just want to own it. So we don't want to say, I can't change, or it's not possible for me to parent differently. Instead, just be honest. I'm just choosing not to do that, choosing not to change. I'm choosing not to try something different because it doesn't feel safe. I'm not ready for it. It's too much right now. That's okay. That's totally fine. Even just making the conscious choice to stay the same is a step towards change, because that's different. You were unconsciously choosing it before. It was unconsciously being done. You were creating that result in your life, and now you're consciously choosing it. Well, that's pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. And then we can shift into choosing to change and evolve into the next version of ourselves as a parent, as a human, when we're ready to grow and stretch. And we can own that too. So we can own not wanting to change. We can own changing. What I would love you to notice is where you're going through the same patterns over and over again, and you're not as consciously aware of it as possible. This is why in League we do daily peace. Every single day we do a thought download. We look at our thoughts. We look what we're creating, because the more awareness we have, even if we're not ready to change it, even if it feels unsafe, the awareness will eventually open up the healing that might need to happen, the safety that might need to be created to eventually shift things. And then I want to offer that you ask yourself these two really important questions. What is the benefit of evolving as a parent? And what's the cost of staying the same? These two questions are going to help you find your why. And trust me, you're going to need it if you're deciding to change. And as soon as you're ready to make the decision to evolve, all of the reasons why you've not been able to do it in the past, they're going to come up to the surface. The things that have been holding you back, your doubts, your fears, your old patterns, your old beliefs, your sense of safety, not being there, not feeling safe, they're all going to show up, and it's probably not going to be very pretty. If you decide you're going to stop reacting with frustration every time your child pushes back, that's a big shift if that's been challenging for you in the past. And so as soon as you commit to it, your old habits, your thoughts will start shouting at you. This is too hard. Maybe I'm not patient enough. This isn't going to work. What if this doesn't work? And then you're going to maybe lose your cool again, and your brain's going to say, oh, see, you're not cut out for this. You might feel the tug to go back to what's familiar. It feels easier. You might doubt yourself, or if you're capable of changing. You might even retreat into old patterns. This is all normal. This is what happens when we start to intentionally choose growth and have more awareness. Now, when I looked up the word evolve, one of the definitions I found was cumulative changes over time. Cumulative changes over time. I love that description because it reminds me that every time we evolve as parents, we're adding to a bigger picture of growth. Each step forward builds on the last. So we're creating deeper and stronger foundations for ourselves and our kids. Think about it. How much have you grown and changed and evolved since you were 18? I'm guessing quite a bit if you're listening to this podcast. A lot. Life has this way of getting us to evolve. And for most of us, big events like leaving home, going to college, getting married, having kids are these moments where we've been given the most incredible opportunity to grow. And let's be real, having kids, that's a big one. When we choose to have kids, we are choosing to be in an environment where for the next 18 plus years, we are going to be self-confronting all of our weaknesses, our triggers. We're growing, we're evolving. Parenting is the ultimate, hey, you're going to evolve situation. There's really no way around it. I'm assuming since you're listening to this podcast, you're not willing to walk away from your kids. You want to be an amazing parent. That's who listens to this podcast. That's who wants to embrace Connect Method parenting. So you're choosing to stay and face situations that are challenging that will compel you to change. The tantrums, the teenage attitude, the sleepless nights, the whiny kids, all of that. Parenting is such an amazing growth curriculum. And here's something I found fascinating. Some of the synonyms for evolve include growth, maturation, advance, open, unfold, build, just to name a few. When I looked up antonyms, they were words like stop, lessen, hide, diminish, block. And I've thought a lot about that because in parenting, when we're not actively involving, it can feel like we're stuck or even moving backwards, regressing. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to try to hide from the opportunity to grow? Meaning your child is giving you this opportunity to grow and you just want to resist it. They're throwing a fit. They're being entitled. They're talking in a certain way that just irritates you. They're fighting, whatever it is. Bedtime's difficult. And it's this opportunity to grow, to look at ourselves and say, who do I want to be when I'm facing this situation? And so often when we're not consciously choosing to evolve, we're trying to avoid dealing with the situation. We're trying to get them to stop as soon as possible, not really getting to the root of it, not coming alongside of them, not helping really allow everybody to become more capable. We're just trying to shut it down. And I think all of us have been guilty of that from time to time, and that's okay. But when we choose to avoid maybe a hard conversation with a child that we need to have, and we fall back into old patterns, it's just because they're more familiar. But when we stop evolving as a parent, we're going to feel stuck. And what's really happening is that we're diminishing our capacity to connect with our kids and ourselves. And we do not want that. We do not want that. Life has a way to compel us to grow. Maybe it's the child's unexpected meltdown, a shift in their developmental stage, or a situation that tests your patience. You don't get to avoid those moments as a parent. They happen to you whether you like it or not. But we really start to change as a person when we choose to lean into those moments, to evolve, to become more consciously aware of what's going on for us, and to proactively decide, hey, I want to show up better in this moment so I can handle myself in a way I respect and help my child go through something that feels really challenging to them. We're building the skills to handle the challenges that life throws us. And again, this is a lot of the work we do inside of League, where we are implementing the principles of Connect Method parenting so that we're leaning into situations and we're going from resisting the tantrum to neutralizing the tantrum to eventually looking forward to the tantrum because of the opportunity it gives us to calm our nervous system down, to not be as triggered, to become more emotionally capable. So we go from resisting to neutralizing to consciously allowing ourselves to be in the situation, because we know the only way to get to where we want to go is through the situation. It's inviting ourselves to look at those challenging situations as a way to become more emotionally capable, a way to help our child become more emotionally capable. Because every time we get to interact with our child when they're having a tantrum and we are learning how to regulate our nervous system just a little bit better and just a little bit better the next time, eventually we're going to feel very capable of staying calm and connected and compassionate when that tantrum happens. And then we're going to be able to start helping our child co-regulate and get rid of their foul frustration. Choosing evolution is building your parenting muscle. You learn how to adapt and to change. You learn how to regulate your emotions and how to stay grounded, even if it feels like all you're seeing around you is chaos. Can I stay calm in the chaos? So here's the question for you. In 15 years, who do you want to be as a parent? Do you want to look back and say, I grew on purpose? I chose to evolve into the parent I wanted to be. Or do you want to be left? Or do you want to let life force you into growth without intention that might result in growth, but might just result in you feeling frustrated and stuck? I like to think about life as a rhythm or a cadence, a flow of ease and evolving, ease and evolution. Sometimes we're in a place of ease. Things feel good and steady and manageable. And then there are times where we feel we've been pushed to evolve. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, but it's necessary to get to the next place of ease. So we cycle through both. If you spend all your time in ease, avoiding discomfort and staying in the familiar, you might find that ease creates stagnation in your life. Kind of feel stuck. That restlessness you feel, that's your inner drive to evolve. The big question that I have for you is, do you believe that evolving, that stepping into discomfort, learning new skills, growing as a parent will bring you to a place of greater ease on the other side? That's what I believe. I believe absolutely I'm going to evolve. I'm going to go through this phase of stepping into a new skill set, into new capacity. And on the other side of this phase of discomfort and evolving is a phase of ease. Every time I've chosen to grow, even when it's hard, I have found a deeper sense of peace waiting for me on the other side once I get through it. This week, I want you to think about what your parenting journey could look like. Are you flowing between ease and evolving? Are you trying to always stay in comfort and avoid looking at the areas that are challenging for you, that you know might require more change and growth and evolving to become this next more loving, patient, kind, and it could be very firm and compassionate, limit-holding self that you want to become? And if you are avoiding the situations, those challenging situations, I get it. I get it. We haven't been taught to get excited about challenging bedtimes or tantrums. We've been taught to avoid them. We've been taught to shut them down, make them go away. But when you lean into the challenge, your nervous system calms down. You feel safe. Bedtime isn't a problem. The tantrum's not a problem. The teenage attitude's not a problem. And you can start to see it as an opportunity to not only notice the underdeveloped parts of yourself and begin to develop them, but also as an opportunity to deeply connect and guide and help your child through whatever their challenge is, so that you can create a family standard that you love. You keep your prefrontal cortex on when you're in these challenging situations, and you can come up with really beautiful, healthy boundaries and rules and standards for yourself and values that you live by and hold firm to them. Let's say about electronics, about nap time, about homework, about dinner, whatever it is you want to create. That maybe right now you feel hesitant or doubtful that you could create. Maybe you've been avoiding thinking or trying to address it. You've been shying away from it. And what I would say to you is, if you could lean into it instead, you could think about it in a different way and say, no, I'm going to lean into this challenge because on the other side, I will have figured it out. And there's an extra dose of ease and comfort for me. What I have found with myself and parents I've worked with is when they lean into situations and, dare I say, even get a little bit excited about it, they begin to grow in their capacity to handle it. The science backs it up. When you are excited, when you are leaning into a situation, you're not going into fight or flight. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does the logic and the reasoning that helps you show up in a way you respect gets to stay online because you're problem solving. Maybe you get extra help and support from the outside. Maybe you take a break for a minute. Maybe you just make a fabulous plan about what you're going to do about electronics, and you practice holding that ground and having a really solid emotional capacity to handle the pushback. Whatever the case may be, you lean into it. You're like, ooh, I wonder how many iterations it's going to take for me to show up the way I want to at bedtime, at dinner time, when the kids are pushing back and wanting electronics, when whatever, fill in the blank, when it's homework time. So if this is what you want, we want to lean in so that you can problem solve, so that you can self-confront, so that you can iterate on your plan until you create something new. So what do you have to lose by getting excited about the challenging situation that's going to help you grow and evolve? Nothing. So if you're up for it, ask yourself, what's my next stretch goal as a parent? Maybe it's staying calm when your child's melting down, or maybe it's learning to really listen to your teen. Whatever it is, lean in. Believe it's possible. Let the process be messy, and let the discomfort shape you into the parent you want to be. All right, you all. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Thanks for wanting to be a connective parent. You're doing better than you think. I'm sure you are. Go connect with your kids a little extra today and have fun while you do it. We're so lucky to be parents. And I'm so, so grateful for the ease and the discomfort and the evolution that comes with the territory of being a parent. Have an amazing day, you all. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening, you all. If you are ready to learn more about Connect Method Parenting, if you've been listening to the podcast and you think, ooh, I'd love to be able to implement this in my life and with my parenting more, then check out Pivot. It's my 8-week program where we deep dive into learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting so that you can take this information and transform your parenting journey. Head over to connectmethodparenting.com to find out when the next group starts.